Well, a very warm welcome and welcome back again to the second episode of the Anatomy of an Anomaly. My name is Kasim, and once again, I want to extend my greatest gratitude to you and welcome you once again to the second episode of An Anomaly. I hope that today I can inspire you in some way, which I'll get to in just a moment. But in some way, this show, or if you're listening to this, can in some way add some value to the quality of your life and help you become a higher, fuller expression of who you're capable of becoming. I want to actually begin today off by reading you a poem. I know it's not exactly the most manly thing for me to begin today off with, but it will serve as a really good foundation for what I want to talk about today, which is I want to talk primarily around this whole concept of confidence, of self-esteem, of belief in oneself. Because the reality is, guys, none of us are going to be able to make it if we do not believe in ourselves. Most of you have heard this. You've heard it from thousands and thousands of successful people that self-belief is so critical to achieving anything in life, whether that be in achieving a partner, so your girlfriend, your missus, what will be your wife, whether it be getting and succeeding, getting a position in management and succeeding in your career. It may be even just going to the interview and interviewing for a job that you're really interested in. It may be going and asking for more money because you've got a child on your way. For many of you, it might be the belief that even though you're stuck at the moment in a rut where nothing seems to be going well for you, that it is absolutely possible for you in your own life for things to get better, for things to improve. And that belief in oneself to figure things out is what's going to actually allow you to be able to even dare develop that courage to get onto that path of actually bettering yourself, of taking those next steps in your life, which can improve your self-esteem, which can start stepping you in the right direction. Many of you have heard of Jim Rohn, and Jim Rohn said that whilst you may not be able to get to your destination overnight, you can change direction. So you might be listening to this at the moment and your self-esteem, your confidence, your belief in yourself is shattered. It's in shambles. It's on the floor. You don't believe in yourself. You have no confidence. You've been in relationships where basically girls have just fucked you over. You've been on Tinder and I've tried Tinder for like months and months and months, and basically you hardly get any matches. And when you do get some matches, those girls just kind of you give them some long start speech, which is what they're all looking for, and then they just reply with "Hi, how are you?" And it's kind of like, what the hell is going on? Like, you know what I mean? You might be in a position in your life where nothing amazing has happened to you. Everything in your life is just mediocre or all right, and you've seen that there is something higher, you've seen that you could do more, you've seen that there is more out there which is possible for you, and you're thinking, boy, I'd like to have some of that, but I just don't think that I can do it, Cass. It's just impossible for me. So let me begin off with reading you a poem. As I said, it's not the most manly thing for me to begin off with, but it illustrates a point which I think is really important. The poem is by a woman called Marianne Williamson. It's from a book entitled A Return to Love, Reflections on the Principles of a Course in Miracles. The poem goes like this. You might have heard of it. It goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. You playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not in just some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same as we are liberated from our own fears. Our presence automatically liberates others. So I wanted to begin today off because over the last couple of days, I've been doing some research. I'm due to do a series, start a new series where I'm going to be answering men's questions, because I've been very, very lucky in the sense that I've experienced a lot in my life. I've lost my father, I've been in debt, I've been able to get into management in various jobs, I've been at the point of suicide, I've been arrested. So basically, I've lived quite a crazy life for somebody who's so young. So I've had loads of different perspectives, which I'll talk about in a moment. And that has allowed me to, and also, of course, I've been studying successful people and people who've achieved success and are still happy. So I thought that what I would do is I would start answering questions based on my own perspective and give lads just a different perspective on some of the questions that they're interested in. And so as a result, I had to go and start studying what men worry about. What are some of the problems that us lads we suffer with? And I thought that many of the problems are probably going to be around girls, that many of the problems are going to be around like getting more money. Many of the problems are going to be around maybe like things to do with getting the latest car. No, which is what shocked me. Basically, as I did research onto questions that men ask, I found that the single number one thing that men basically worry about is confidence, which I was a bit shocked, if I'm being honest. Well, it's not that I was shocked, but I just didn't think it was such a big deal as I thought it was a big deal. Because for me, I've worked through this process where I've had to get to the point where I actually believe in myself more than other people believe in me. And in that journey, I've kind of almost forgotten that a lot of other lads still suffer with this problem. A lot of other lads do not actually believe in themselves. A lot of other lads, most lads, don't actually believe in their ability to figure things out. A lot of lads are actually amazing human beings. They have the capacity to do the most incredible things. That you really do. You guys who are listening to this, if you're a man and you're listening to this, can you honestly say to me that everything that you've done in your life is really the most that you can do? That you've really reached your peak, that you've really exercised every resource, every skill that you're capable of getting. You've exercised your knowledge. You've gone out there and felt love. You've gone out there and approached as many girls as you possibly can. You've gone out there and tried to get into management, or try to pursue the career that you want, or start a business, or write a book, or go traveling. Can you honestly try to convince me and say that you've reached the peak of those areas? For most lads, the answer to that question is no, they haven't. And so the question is, why? Why have you not? I mean, you're a child of God, that you're clearly here for some kind of reason. You're special, people value you, people love you. So why in the world, if you agree that you could be doing more, why are you not doing more? And I think, I may be wrong here, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think part of it is that you just basically don't believe in yourself. You just don't think if you took the chance or you took the risk to go for something that you want, that you probably are going to get it. The chances are that you basically believe the chances of you failing versus the chance of you succeeding, the chances of you failing are much higher. And so that's why you've not really tried anything. There are girls out there who you actually could benefit from having someone like you in their life. You are their Bonnie and Clyde, their Jerry's to Ben, their cookie dough to ice cream, their popcorn to the cinema, their V8 to a BMW, their honey to the bees, their I don't know, a car to a dog. You know, when their cars, they have their tongue, when you allow them, you open the window and you allow them to put their tongue out and their head out of the window, and they love it. You get the point of what I'm saying, right? And you are their perfect partner. But the issue is, you've just never even approached these girls because you don't think that your chances of you managing to I was going to use the word lure, but I thought, God, that's not a good word, of you courting them are very high. You think that you'll fail at it. And so what I really wanted to do is I wanted to look up why is it so many of us lack this confidence? And to begin off with, I think we live in a world today where I think a lot of us. I talked a little bit about this in a different show where I was saying that many of us, we have like two colors. So we have a color which is who we are, which is when we're like at home and we're naked and we're just walking around in our bedroom and we're just chilling and we're just listening to our music and we're just like eating shit. That is actually who we are. That color may be red, let's just say, right? For me, obviously, you can tell what my color is. My colors are orange and green, right? Almost, if you look at all my videos are basically green and orange. That's what I typically tend to wear. And we have this color. So let's just use the color red. Many of you who are listening to this, your actual color of who you are, your soul, your spirit, right, is actually a red. But you have this other color, which is the color that you show other people. And that color may be, let's just say, blue. And the thing is, for a lot of lads, that color, we spend so much time in today, tell me if I'm wrong here, but today's society, we spend basically most of our time around other people. If you're not on the bus home, if you're not even at lunch on your lunch break, you're around other people. At work, you're around other people. When you're at home, you're around your mum, your dad, your sister. When you go to the gym, you're around other people. When you're not, even when you go to the toilet, you're around other people in the sense that you're always on your phone. So basically, most of us have never really taken any time out for ourselves. Most of us don't really get to show ourselves our true color, right, to anyone, because we primarily have this other color, this blue color, that we're showing other people, that we're confident that we've got it all together, that we're doing well. But in reality, we've spent so much time trying to persuade people and to show off this color, this blue, which is what we think other people want to see and what other people have said we are. You know, for some of you who are listening to this, many of your friends have told you that you're the Joker. So your family have told you that you're funny. And so all your life, you've just done things that made people laugh. Sometimes you've actually just wanted to be serious and you wanted to be like, get on with it. But you just can't be, because everybody knows you as a joker. You can't even dare to try to get into management, even though you want to get into management, because everybody just basically thinks that you're the funny guy. You're the guy who turns up late. You're the guy who turns off scruffy. You're the guy who doesn't even make any effort. So if you even ask to try and get into management, it will almost be like a joke. People will almost just joke around, like, you trying to be a man, trying to get into management. Like, come on, man. You're not the guy who gets into management, right? Some of you lads who are listening to this, the colour that you've shown the world, the blue colour, not the one that you actually are, is the kind of guy who just basically is cynical about everything. Nothing's ever going to work out. Nothing, like, you're maybe the colour that you've shown the world is the colour that you don't care about anything. Right? You don't care if anyone leaves you. You don't care if you don't do well. You don't care if you get fired. And so as a result, you've portrayed a certain image to the world about that in part to protect yourself. But that has meant that you've not spent any time on the actual colour that you are. And some of the lines have got blurred. Now you've lost sight of exactly who you are. And so your actual colour has diminished and diminished and diminished and diminished to the point that you don't even know who you are anymore. You don't even, you don't even actually believe that you can go up and speak to a girl and be able to court her. You don't actually really believe that you can go and apply for a management role and get it. You don't really believe that if you went and asked your boss for a pay rise because you need it, that you would really be able to get it. None of this, you just don't believe it. You don't even believe that if you took a chance and quit your job and actually ended up starting to do the thing that you actually want to do, that you'd actually make it. You just don't believe it. And if you don't believe, because some of you are going to be listening to this and you're saying, bullshit, Cass. I believe in myself. Well, here's my question to you. Would the results in your life prove it? Answer that. Would your life prove the results? I didn't say like what you are saying you're going to do, what you tell everybody. Would the results in your life prove that you believe in yourself, that you have strong self-esteem, that you actually believe in your ability to figure things out? Would the results in your life prove it? So for example, if you at the moment are not happy with your body, you're like, Cass, I could get a six-pack, bro, if I really wanted to. Okay, well, would your life prove it? If you say, well, actually, Cass, if I really wanted to, I could get into management, and deep down you know that you do, would your life prove that you're taking steps to get into management? If you say, Cass, I know that I could really achieve my dreams, cool, all right. Well, would your life, if I came and followed you around, you did, a bit creepy for me to do this, but if you didn't know that I was following you around and I just stalked you for like a couple of weeks, could I tell very clearly that this brother right here is on the path to trying to achieve his dreams? Is that what your life would show me? Because if your life didn't show me that, and you didn't know that I was watching you, because this is what I'm talking about. This is why I say many of us, we have these two colors. Because anyone can pretend they've got their shit together, right? We can show the facade color. There is this thing, I think the word personality. I was looking, when I was studying psychopaths, I read in a book that the word personality comes from the Greek word persona. Persona means like mask. It means like a fake face. And many of us lads, the reality is we have a persona. We have a face, a mask that we show the world. And so if I followed you around and you didn't know that I was following you around, you couldn't show me that persona. You couldn't show me that fake mask. Would that other person behind you be able to prove to me what you say? So the reality is we live in a world today where I think it's really tough for lads, because we are being hit from every fucking side. I don't, like, honestly, we're being hit by the Me Too movement. We're being hit by Instagram. Bro, listen, you go on Instagram today and boy, you're being shown how other people have better bodies than you, they have more money than you, they have more girls than you, they have a better house than you. And today, I think because of the world of social media, if you go back to, like, let's just say 1960s, 1970s, when my dad was growing up, in those days, the only comparison that most of us had, I would say, was our neighbors and our family, right? Just because most people just would never be exposed to somebody and would never gain access or exposure to somebody who had considerably more than them. But because we live in a world of social media and the world of showing off and a world of everybody seeing what you've got, today we've got more exposure and more access to stuff which we do not, which we can have. And I think this is where the really big frustration comes for a lot of us lads. Most of us actually know that we can achieve the things that we see on Instagram, but we don't believe in ourselves and our ability to actually pursue it. We don't believe it. Most of us, we've seen guys who have Rolex watches on Instagram. We've seen it. Are you actually trying to persuade me and tell me that none of the lads who are listening to this, that you can go or watching this, that you can go and get yourself a Rolex watch if you worked hard for, let's just say, the next 2 years and you saved 200, 300 quid? Are you honestly trying to convince me that you couldn't go and buy a Rolex watch? Of course you could. If you really wanted to, of course you could, right? My question is, do you actually believe that you could? And would the results in your life prove it? Right? Most of us know that if you really wanted to start a side hustle, wanted to write a book, we know that you can do this shit. There isn't anything special about people who write books. There's nothing special about them. God damn it. Take a piece of paper and start writing down what you want. Get somebody to ghostwrite it for you, right? It isn't really that difficult. If you're not somebody who's a great reader, guess what? Today, you can go on what do you call them? Audiobooks. Right? There is somebody to help you in virtually every area of life today. That's the great world of the online world, right? But the question is, do you believe in yourself? So going back to my point. So today, we live in a world where we have got a lot of exposure to stuff. You go on Instagram, you'll be shown. And the thing is, I think today is worse because you get it 24/7. if we go back to like 1980s, 1970s, the only access that people had to you was either by telephone. Like, let's just use advertisers, let's just say, okay? So the only way an advertiser would have access to you is via, I guess, by sending you some kind of a post, like a letter or something like that, or they had like those billboards. That was essentially the only way that they could gain access to you, or they can come to your door, right? Today, advertisers can access you on your phone, they can access you on billboards, they can call you, cold calling, they can send you emails, they can send you letters, they can send you, when you got, a billboard, like, what do you call them, ads on like Instagram, Facebook. They can find you on ads on YouTube, you know, those when you're watching a video on YouTube and then you have to skip an ad, they can find you there. Basically, people can find you anywhere, and every single time the world is telling you how much little you have. Isn't that what advertisers basically all of the time are trying to tell you? You don't have enough money. How to get more money? You don't you don't have very good skin. How you can have good skin? You're poor at the moment. 5 steps to how you can get rich. You don't have a girlfriend. 5 steps to getting a girlfriend. Basically, every advert around us today is telling you how you are not enough, how in some way you're deficient, how in some way you're missing something. And the reality is that most of us don't have a very strong understanding of our second color, and our second color is not the most dominant color in our life, right? And so what happens is we think, oh yeah, I am missing something. I'm not enough. I'm ugly enough. I need that mask. I need to do my hair in this way. And shall I tell you how you'll always know that your soul color, your spirit color is not the dominant color? Is look at how much you are affected by trends and phenomenons. Look at how much you're... So for example, if you are really grounded and you know who you are, look at why did you get your last haircut? Because most of us, if I ask most lads, why did you get the haircut that you have today? Most lads will say, because I want it. Go deeper. Why do you want it? Why did you choose that specific haircut? Because none of us just simply get ideas out of nowhere. You didn't just get... Do you honestly think that you just honestly chose the haircut that you have today just randomly? Of course you didn't. You must have seen someone or something that triggered you in some way to want to get it. It's like... I say to people, particularly leaders, people who want to become like leaders, I say to leaders all the time, tell me something. Why is it that you believe McDonald's spend billions and billions and billions of pounds every year out of their revenue for advertising? Why do you think, if people really love McDonald's that much and people really just, they didn't need to be influenced in any way, why is it that when I looked at Coca-Cola, don't quote me on these figures, guys. Do not quote me on these figures. But last year, I looked at the revenue of Coca-Cola, the brand Coca-Cola. And last year, I think that they took in somewhere around like 100. I think Coca-Cola, again, don't quote me on these figures. But last year, I believe that Coca-Cola took in something like 100 billion, right? Do you know how much Coca-Cola spent on advertising alone? That's not employee salaries, nothing, just on advertising. It's something like 40 billion of the 100 billion that they earn. Now, here's my question. If you were really not that influenced by advertising and it really wasn't that big a thing, why would a company like Coca-Cola spend 40 billion pounds on advertising, on billboards, on adverts on TV? Why? Because they understand that if you keep seeing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, whether you like it or not, it will become familiar. Human beings are naturally inclined to go for whatever is familiar. Meaning, if McDonald's show you, if you go on your phone and you see an advert of the Big Mac, You go on Instagram, you see an advert of Big Mac. You go on YouTube and there's a McDonald's in the, you know, when you skip the videos, like you're watching something on YouTube and then you skip the advert. If that advert is related to McDonald's Big Mac, you then walk outside and you walk by the bus shelter. You don't even realize it, but on the bus shelter, your brain picks up some kind of billboard of a Big Mac. You then, in your workplace, get leaflets on Big Macs. You know those little leaflets that you can buy a Big Mac and a drink for like $2.99. Then you're on the bus and you see on the bus, along the side of the bus, a Big Mac. The next time that you're hungry, guess what you will want? I'm sure I don't need to tell you the answer to that question. Big Mac is the first thing that will come into your mind. Not because you're an unhealthy person or a bad person, but the brain picks up the easiest choice and the most familiar choice. Here's what I'm trying to say to you. I wonder which part of you, which color that you are operating from, your brain is picking up from. Because if you remember, the word personality comes from the Greek word persona, meaning a mask, right? So if you have these two colors, so as I said earlier on, we all have two colors. Well, metaphorically speaking, obviously, we have the color that we actually are, which is our spirit, our soul, our love, and all the really important parts of us, which may be blue for you. And then we have another color, which is the color that we show other people, the confidence, the cars, all the outside things that we want other people to see, which let's say is red. My question to you is, which one of those colors is your life? When you're making decisions, are you making decisions based on? So when you think about going for the career, at the moment, for example, a lot of us have been in lockdown. So when you think about going back to work and you think about where you want to be in the next 5 years, are you making the decision based on your core color, or are you making the decision based on the outside color, on the persona, on the mask that you want other people to see? I don't know. I may be wrong. Just something for you to think about. You know, it's very interesting for me looking at some data. I'm going to share some data with you that I found interesting. So 86% of homeless people reported some kind of mental illness in the UK. In the UK, there are around 135,000 children who are living in temporary accommodation. Last year, in 2019, 695,000 men experienced domestic abuse. Here's something that I found really interesting. In 2013, 6,233 people committed suicide. 78% of those were men. In the UK, there are 1.1 million children who are growing up without a father in the home. 1.1 million in the UK growing up without a father in the home. 1 in 6 young people in the UK have reported being bullied in the last 12 months. Here's some other further data. In fact, let's expand this and go on a global scale now. There is 2.2 billion children in developing countries. 2.2 billion. I'm getting to a point here. Stay with me. I'm not just giving you these figures for the purpose of giving you these figures. I'm giving you these figures because I'm going to get to a point in a moment. 2.2. Worldwide, there are 2.2 billion. So there are about 8 billion people on the planet. Sorry, let me actually give you a different statistic. It's still related to this. So there are about 8 billion people on the planet. 2.2 of those are children, and 2 billion of those children are growing up in a poor country, in a, what do they call it today? In a developing country. 820 million children worldwide do not have enough food to eat. 1.3 billion live in extreme poverty. That's about $1.25 a day, which is about, I don't know, £1. So basically, imagine you lived on £1 a day. So that's £7 a week. In the UK, imagine living on £7 a week. That includes your electric, that includes your TV, your mobile, your Sky, all the other things that you're wanting. 1.3 billion live on that. 72 million children remained unschooled. Imagine that. We live in today's society and we have 72 million children who are unschooled. That means they've never attended a single class. 1.1 billion people in the world lack access to water. Running water, that is. 1.1 billion people lack access to electricity. Why did I give you these statistics? I gave you these statistics and this data because I wanted to illustrate to you that somebody has to do something about this. Somebody has to do something about this. If somebody does not do something about this, there is this word that I keep hearing a lot. It will remain a cycle. The poverty cycle. The not being educated cycle. The abuse cycle. The mental health cycle. The being bullied cycle will continue. The not having enough to eat cycle will continue. The suicide rate and the suicide cycle will continue. Somebody has to step forward. You know, I remember I once read a quote which I found to be very interesting. The quote said this: every day good people have to wake up and try to empty the ocean with a ladle. A ladle is like one of those big dinner spoons, you know, like when you go to like a posh restaurant. A ladle is like one of those like really big spoons that you get for serving like, I don't know, cottage pie or something like that. And somebody said that every single day good people have to wake up and try to do that. Well, I wanted to allude to this because what I wanted to say to you, many of you guys who are listening to this, is that people who have always felt like they don't fit in anywhere, people who've always felt like no one has ever really got them, people who've always felt like nobody really kind of connected with them, nobody saw their perspective, nobody had truly seen who they were. There is nobody who they can say, that brother right there knows who I am. Those people are the people who are stupid enough to try to beat some of these statistics. Normal people don't change the world, guys. And I don't think people really get this. There is no way a normal person who's always felt comfortable, who's always fitted in, who had a really good upbringing, who kind of had a bit of a struggle, but it wasn't really, life hasn't been that bad. No, those people never change anything. Never. They just don't do it. Do you know why? Because they've never understood that you have to be stupid enough to actually try it. They've never had the drive. They've never had the perseverance to even dare. And what I'm saying to you is, many of you lads, your whole life you felt insignificant. Your whole life you felt like there is something higher for you to do, but you don't know what it is. You've seen a problem, you've seen a cause, you've seen something out there in the world where you've been like, somebody's got to fucking do something about this. If somebody doesn't do anything about this, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to lose my mind. This is not right. This is unfair that dogs are being treated like this. It's unfair that the suicide rate is at this rate. You have to do what this person said. you have to wake up and try to empty the ocean with a spoon. Can you, and do you know how you do this? You do this by believing in and having more faith in yourself and in hope that by you doing something, it can in some way improve it. Do you know how you do that? You do that by focusing and bringing out more of the color of who you are. Most of the ill in the world, most of the hurt, most of the atrocities that have happened in the world all source from self-esteem. People feeling like they don't have enough. People feeling like they're lacking something. People feeling like they're different from everybody else or superior to other people. That is where all the greatest tragedies in the world have stemmed from. And in part, it's because people did not recognize that they're special. I wonder if you recognize that you're special. I wonder if you recognize that you're important to the human race. I know that you get it intellectually. I know that you're hearing the words that I'm saying and you're kind of like, well, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, everyone's cool, Cash. Yeah, man, everyone's special, everyone's important, blah, blah, blah. But do you believe that you are? Do you, I'm not talking about intellectually here, do you feel it in your body? Do you understand that you're connected to me and I'm connected to you? And what, by you following your dreams, by you showing us who you really are, I benefit. What did I start the poem off saying? I started off the poem by saying that you, let me go back to that actually. Let me just go back to that quote. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others. What am I trying to say? Miriam Williamson is trying to say that if you show your color, you unconsciously give me permission to show my color. When you show your vulnerability, you unconsciously give Kasim permission to show my vulnerability. What I'm saying to you is some of you have been so focused on trying to show the world who you want them to be, and you've been focused on this other color which isn't actually you, right? Everybody believes that you're bravado and you're strong and you've got it all together. But really, your color says you're vulnerable, you're creative, you're somebody who's actually delicate. But nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. And the problem is, because you're showing everybody this color, it's this repeated cycle where I'm looking at you and I can't show, even though I feel the same way as you. And I'm like, oh, I can be creative as well and I can be vulnerable and I have a lighter side to me. I can never show it. Because you are so like, we've got it all together that I'm trying to aspire to you. I'm trying to chase you. I'm like, well, I can't show. If I show that I'm weak and I show that I'm creative and I bring out the lighter side in me, if I do that, then I'm going to be the misfit. I'm going to be the one that's going to be the maverick. I'm going to stand out on the fringes, on the edges. This is why I say to you that only people who are stupid enough to do this actually show their true color. Isn't that song? There's that song, show me your true colors. That's why I love you. Don't be afraid. I should have been an X Factor, man. I should have applied to be on X Factor. No, but seriously, guys, no. On a real serious note, what I'm basically trying to say to you, and I'm challenging you to do, is that if you can start to get onto this path where you show your color, where you show us who you are, because you're special, man. You are genuinely, you've got something unique about you. God has made it so that nothing is duplicated. And I'm going to get back to that point in a second. So if you will show us who you are, if you will show us your true color, do you know what we can do? You also give us permission to do the same. We then can actually start doing our life's work. We can then actually start following our passions and our drive and our dreams. It's always interesting for me that usually when there's been a history of somebody not going to university, when one person in a family then breaks that cycle and goes to university, guess what everybody else does? That person now has set the bar, which means everybody else in that family now kind of really can't really be consider themselves successful unless they've really gone to uni. And if you don't believe that statement, let me ask you this question. In the UK, what is the bar for success really? What is kind of the minimum? Like if like, in terms of education, if clearly I'm generalizing here, but stay with me. In the UK, I may be wrong, but in the UK, I believe that most of us don't really we don't really consider you to have be successful in life unless you have a degree, right? And we actually give people, irrelevant of this kind of degree that they have, we give them more status, more authority, more influence just because they have a degree. It's just like we give people who are doctors or who have a doctorate, who have a PhD, we give them more influence and more status because of that. And so what I'm saying to you is, when you in your life show your true colors, you will set the bar for everybody else around you. Look, it might not be millions, right? You might not go on and become like Nelson Mandela, because Nelson Mandela, for us people like myself who aspire to be the best human beings we can be, has really set the bar. People like Nelson Mandela, people like Mother Teresa, people like who else? I can't even think of anyone off the top of my head now. That's really bad, isn't it? Considering that I've studied some of the most loving people on the planet. But people like Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela, they've set the bar for me on what it means to be a human being. Like, I love it when, I remember when I was studying Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, that brother, he tried to basically get rid of the apartheid in South Africa, and the people who he was trying to free, which were the black people, were the people who imprisoned him. Can you imagine that? Imagine being somebody and you're thinking, you know what, I want to free black people so that they can have the same rights as white people. And the people who kept him in prison, because it was primarily black people. I mean, I was reading his autobiography. It was fascinating. His autobiography is called The Long Road Home. And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, so the people who you're trying to free, who they know that you're trying to free them and you're trying to give them the same rights, are the people who are holding you in prison and are getting you. Do you know what Nelson Mandela had to do when he was in prison? What they did is they got him to break rocks. That's what he had to do. Every day in the prison, he had to break up rocks, right? And imagine that you're trying to free people, and those same people you're trying to free are doing that to you. He wrote, he had one of his sons. His son died when he was in prison. And when his son died, he asked to go to the funeral. They refused. Imagine trying to free people, and the same people who you're trying to free, you've lost your child. Imagine losing a son. Jesus Christ. Nothing's more painful than losing a child. And you're not even allowed to go to their funeral. Nelson Mandela used to write letters to his wife. Do you know what people did? Do you know the people who he was trying to free, the guards, do you know what they did? They burnt the letters to his wife. And he's trying to free these brothers here. Right? And then he came out of prison. Do you know what he said? They asked him in an interview, oh, how do you feel about, you must have so much anger and hatred at the black people who kept you in prison, even though you were trying to free them. Do you know what he said? He said, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die first. I'll repeat that. See, God damn it, most of you don't understand this. Let me repeat what Nelson Mandela said. Even though he was trying to free black people, and those black people kept him in prison, this is what he said when they asked him, oh, you must be so angry. This is after he was released from prison, after 29 years of being in prison. So they said to him, oh, you must be so angry with black people. He said, no, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die first. My God. I thought, fuck me. I thought I had shit bad. What would it take for me to get to the kind of point in my life where I would forgive somebody even though they did that to me? Wow. So he set the bar for me as to how high I can rise. My question is, I wonder if you have the ability. You've been a misfit. You have been somebody who's never fitted in anywhere, and as a result, that you have room to be able to go into worlds where most people cannot go into, and as a result, you can liberate other people. You can go into worlds where most people do not have access, and you can bring people out of the darkness. You can go into worlds and liberate animals. You can liberate people from suicide. I wonder if you're that kind of a misfit and maverick, and you live life and you've never fitted in, and you on the fringes of everything, which gives you this unlimited access to be able to dip in and out of different environments. For example, me, as Kasim, I was born in Uganda, which is East Africa, and I grew up 9 years of my life in there. I then moved to England and I lived in Exeter for like 4 years. I then moved from Exeter and I lived in England, in Reading, for like basically the rest of my life. I've had access to Nepalese people, Lithuanian people, people who are from Slovakia. I've had access to Nepalese. I've had access to Ugandans, Ghanaians, English. I've had access to people from Totnes. I've had access to people who are from America. I've had Canadians. Like, the amount of people who I've had access to, I've never really fit in with any of them. I've never fitted in. If you ask all my friends, they'll tell you I'm not exactly a football lad, right? I love football. Like, if there's a big game on, semi-finals, cup final, whatever it is, I'll get involved. Like, I'll watch it. Like, let's banter, let's get smashed. Boom. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm game for that, right? But you wouldn't call me a football lad. If you were playing a game and you want me to like go and play football, I may not be Messi, I might not be the best player on the field, but I tell you what, we can have a game of football and we'll have jokes and banter and whatever, right? On the other hand, I've never really been like the kind of lad who is into into just chilling and gaming. But I love a good game. I love Snake, bro. I'm into Snake. I'll play Snake. There's this game called Helicopter. On if you're old school like me, you will know that back in the days in like IT or ICT, we used to try and find proxies to try and get onto helicopter. See, this is too much for most of you. You guys can't handle this. But back in the days, we used to have access to get proxies, and we used to have get onto a helicopter, which is basically where you press space, and this helicopter has to go through. I'm going off topic. I know it's entertaining for you guys, but genuinely, I'm going off topic. And back in them days, I realised I'm not one of them guys who is into like gaming or whatever. But bro, I'm all game for playing a game, right? I'm not exactly the kind of guy who is into like heavy metal. But bro, I'll listen to heavy metal, but I'm not into R&B. My whole life, I've never really fitted in anywhere, but I can get access to anything. In fact, if you know me, you will know that I have friends which you just would not believe somebody like me should have. I know people who are Nepalese, people who are into heavy metal, people who are into R&B, people who party in Ibiza, people who are into go to Las Vegas, people who go to Royal Ascot, people who go to Cheltenham, people who go to Polo. Like, my friends list is very like, what's the word? There's a word that I'm trying to find. Is eclectic. I've got an eclectic access to different worlds and friendships. And so that allows me to be able to go into different worlds. And my point that I'm trying to... Let me use another metaphor. I hate these terrible metaphors, these Kasim metaphors, but I think they illustrate a point. Many of you out there, you're a bit like salt. What? What do you mean, Cass? Well, salt isn't exactly designed to go with a specific dish, is it? Maybe you disagree with me. But salt isn't designed to go with fish or seafood or pasta or eggs or whatever. It complements everything. It can go in and out of everything, right? It adds to whatever it goes with. There are some things that just don't go well together. For example, watermelon and cream just don't go well together. They're from two different worlds. They have no access to each other. They just don't go together. What I'm trying to say to you is, some of you are salt and you've never fitted in anywhere. You don't have a niche. You don't have an area where people say like you're a football lad, you're the gaming lad, you're the software guy, you're the geek, you are the heavy metal person. You don't have your entire life you've never fit in, and nobody's ever really given you a label. People don't actually know a lot of the time how to identify you, because sometimes you're creative, sometimes you're into gaming, sometimes you're into football, sometimes you are able to just duck and dive. You're able to go in here and go in there and go in here and associate with those people and do this and do that. You can go into sales, you can go into hospitality, you can go into IT. Like, you can duck and dive into loads of different areas, whereas most people can't. What I'm trying to say to you is that is what makes you unique, and that is where you're going to derive your confidence from. That uniqueness, which you probably think is actually a weakness and is a negative, is actually your strength. It is what allows people. See, the thing is, and it is really difficult for a Nepalese person to go and rescue a Ghanaian, no matter what the Ghanaian is going through. It is really difficult for somebody who is a goth and is suicidal to go and rescue somebody who is Japanese. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's very difficult for them because there are so many different perceptions and stereotypes that there is so many barriers a person would have to cross before they can even connect with the person. But with you, you have an air about you, an aura, an energy. There is something about the way you perceive the world and your opinions and your level of openness that allows you access to people and areas and domains and scenes that most people just simply just don't get access to. You can go 1 minute and be chilling with the black people who are actually into weed and heavy, like chilling and just like monging out. And on the other hand, bro, you're chilling with the people from Ibiza, and it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. What's going on here? What's this? One moment you can be into discipline and running and the next moment you're into creativity and producing art, and we find you in a museum, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? How can the same person be able to move through all these different worlds? And that, I guess, is what I really wanted to get to, and I want you to get to realize. The fact that you are a misfit, the fact that you as a lad have never fitted in anywhere is what makes you special. I dare you in the next decade to show the world who you are. I dare you. I dare you as a lad to develop the courage to liberate other people by being more of who you are. The fact that, see, listen to me. There is no way most of you would be listening or watching me, because I wouldn't be, if I hadn't been able to access all these different worlds, there is no way I'd be able to be as open. There is no way I can convince you that that you being a misfit is something of a benefit if I had not been a misfit myself. But that's what most people like about me. I'm a very open guy. I'm non-judgmental. I'm always keen to hear people's stories. The center of everything that I do is storytelling. I just love people's stories, man. I love people. When people tell me about their stories and what they've been through, I love it. I'm like, bro, tell me more. Let's go into it. Take me deeper, man. And people are usually like, whoa, this is too much, guys. This is too much. I'm like, come on, man. Tell me. You're a good guy. Right? You've gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot. Let's share, man. Give me some of your way. I can help you out. And so, really, guys, that's kind of what I wanted to try and get you to think about over the next week. What is it that makes you special? What is it that makes you unique? Because people who fit in don't change the world. They don't help people. They don't liberate people. They don't go into the hell and try to bring people out of hell themselves. Usually people who've been through hell and they've been suicidal and they've never fitted in anywhere and they've been bullied and they've been picked on and their whole life they've suffered with obesity, and their whole life they've suffered with mental health, they've suffered with epilepsy, and they've suffered with a disability. Those people are the people who change the world. Those people are the people who people feel can go into their world and be able to liberate them out of that world. And I wonder whether you recognize that. Because the reality is, some people who are listening to this, none of what I just said resonates with them. Nope, they don't get it. All this misfit nonsense, all this maverick, all this kind of like being going into darkness and being salt and all this shit. No, it's straight over their heads. You don't get it. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know you've never fitted in. No one's really ever got you. No, you've never felt like you find a place where you belong. You've never felt like you found your home, like your crowd. You've never really found like you found, you know, when you get a new suit and you kind of just wiggle around in it and you kind of just, you're trying to get used to the suit and you're kind of just trying to figure out, okay, yeah, how much can I stretch, right? And eventually you get to the point where you settle in. You've never settled anywhere, because every single time you settle somewhere, something happens. Have you ever noticed that if you're a misfit, that you always can never get away with things that everybody else can? This is, I think, is a truest sign for people who are not supposed to fit in. Because other people seem to get away with shit, and you do the same shit, and you can't get away with it. Shall I tell you how I discovered this? I discovered loads of people drink and drive, and it was me, every time I did it, I basically got caught. I thought, for fuck's sake, every goddamn time, and everybody else gets away with it. Do you know how many people I know that drink and drive? And they've done it for years, and they do it even now, even though they didn't know I've been caught. And they get away with it. Then they don't get caught. And those people are all the people that I know who are basically like just normal people. Right? They fit in. They're under the radar. That's why they're able to do it. But the great thing about people who are misfits is that when you win big. The issue is when you lose, because of the way the world is, when you also lose, you lose big. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you get into a relationship, when you love, brother, you love hard. But when you're like, nah, fuck this, I'm not going into a relationship, you go the opposite. You become a little slut. That's what you become, right? A man whore. I don't even know what the word is for lads. But that's exactly how you are. When you're in a job and you're like, right, I'm going to get into management, it's done. You will be in management within a matter of months because you're that disciplined. But when you're lazy, bro, no, you're lazy as fuck. You like you do nothing. When you are into gymming, you go extreme. You get big, you get bulky, man. Boom, woo. Do you know what I'm saying? So you get big. But when you're just like, I'm chilling, Cass, just leave me, man. Let me eat my Ben and Jerry's ice. Let me eat my Haagen-Dazs, Cass, man. Let me eat my pizza. Let me eat my 2-for-1 Domino's. Just chill, Cass. Leave me alone, man. Right? You're like the brother who's like, when you go partying, it's like, it's not 1 week. It's like 7 weeks. It's like, actually, it's like 7 months. You just go on a bender. Just party, Mandy, party. Next day, party. It's insane. But when you're like not partying at all, like you won't even go out a day. You're not interested. You don't want to do it. There is an extremity about you. And that's why, in part, you can never get away with stuff. Because you stand out. You're above the crowd. You're a misfit. You're on the fringes. That's why every area you go into, you're like salt. You seem to complement every area. You add to, there is an aura about you that adds to wherever it is that you are and you occupy. My question is, do you realize that? Do you get that is what makes you special? And because it makes you special, it means that you're able to go to heights that other people cannot go to. Do you realize that? Because a lot of you are listening to this and you get what I'm saying intellectually, but you don't believe it for yourself. I want you to get that the fact that you've never got away with shit, the fact that you don't seem to fit in anywhere is what is making you special. It's what allows you to be able, if you really wanted to change the world. No, like for example, I told you guys about this suicide rate. Do you honestly think a normal person is really going to do anything about the suicidal rate? They don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't have that depth of empathy, that depth of perception, that depth of drive or for perseverance to be able to dare to be stupid enough and courageous enough to dare to try to solve this problem. Only people who are misfits can. Isn't it funny that many of the people who you admire, many of the people who are right at the top of what they do, are usually people who've never really fitted in? Many of you guys have heard me talk about some of the things and the common denominators that I've learned from reading all these autobiographies, right? I read loads of autobiographies of people who started with nothing and have built their way to success. And the common denominator, one of the common denominators that I hear and I see and I read in these people is that they always use this phrase, I never fit in. No one ever got me. Or people, when you hear people talking about these individuals, they would say things like, oh man, he was always like different from everybody. He always worked harder than everybody. He always turned up earlier than everybody, right? Your habits, your philosophy, your ideas are just different from other people. See, there is nothing, the most successful people don't have more than you do, but what they do is that they think differently than you do. See, if you look at people who are normal, who achieve normal success, clearly I'm generalizing here, but you understand what I mean by normal success if you live in the UK, right? Average Joe Blog. If you look at them and then you look at the people who are above, clearly nobody can be better. You get what I mean when I say this. Clearly nobody's better than anybody, but clearly if you live in a studio and I have a 5-bedroom detached house in somewhere rich, clearly that doesn't mean I'm better than you, but in terms of success, in terms of a house, I'm doing better than you are. If I earn 200 grand a year and you only earn 10 in terms of success, I'm doing better. It doesn't mean I'm better than you. It just means, you get what I'm saying? So if you look in the UK at the people who have achieved average success versus people who've reached some of the higher levels of success, you will notice that these people aren't actually any different. They're just normal people. But the way that they think, these people at the top, is very different. The way they think about working hard is different. So let me give you a perfect illustration of what I mean, and I'm going to close with this because we're up with time. A lot of people say to me, Kasim, I don't know how you can work so hard, man. I don't know how you can do 3 jobs at the same time. I don't know how you can do the videos and write a book and be doing a degree at the same time. And at the same time, be doing your full-time job. And at the same time, see your family. And at the same time, how? They just don't get it. I don't think that it's that unique. But I basically can take more than most people in terms of my ability to work. And most of you who are listening to this, you know it, that all successful people, one of the things that they're primarily known for is their unbelievable work ethic. But when people ask them about, do you find it hard to work this hard? They don't think it's that hard. And I think that some of you can relate to that, where most people just don't get how you are so driven and how you work so hard and you keep going. They just don't get it, right? But you're just like, well, it's just what I do. It's like part of what I do. I've always done it all my life. And you just think about it, work very, very differently. So I wanted to close with that, and I wanted you to just think about over the next week whether you've realized that the fact that you're a misfit, the fact that you're different, is actually what makes you unique. It's actually what is going to add to the rest of us. And do you understand that in the world, nothing has been duplicated? God has, and the universe has ensured that nothing is duplicated. If you went into the Michelin tire factory, even though you look at the systems and the processes to making the Michelin star tire are exactly the same, none of the tires are identical. Even if you look identical twins, you're both born from the same mother, both of those will not be identical. Whilst they may have the same genes, blah, 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 they will think differently. If you look at Michael Jackson and Prince, they both sang. It's nothing special. They both sang. There's loads of people who sing. But Michael Jackson and Prince did it differently. So did Whitney Houston. So did I can't even speak, right? So did I don't know, Kano. They all did the same thing, God damn it, to simplify it, but they did it differently. My point to you is the thing that is actually making you special and is different and is what makes you unique is the fact that you're a misfit. But do you recognize that? Do you get that? Something for you to think about this week. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope it's been of some value to you. Like, share, all the usual stuff. I don't need to tell you guys this kind of stuff. Like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Casimotive. That's where I put all my videos. Send me a message. Maybe there's something that I forgot to mention that you thought, oh, hold on a minute, Cass. You didn't say about actually, or maybe you actually just thought, Cass, maybe you're right. You've triggered me about that whole misfit. To be fair, I've never really fit in anywhere. That kind of makes sense to me. Write to me. I'm always keen to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye for now. Cheers, guys.